everyone. I guess since John has done the roll call, we'll move down to the next item. Ken, do you have an update on the bit recommended VLST tickets for us?
Sure.
Thanks.
So let me see if I can see that. Okay. I don't know for others, but that's kind of blurry for me. So the things that we're continuing to work on, I feel like I sound like a broken record. Single sign-on with Garrett, that's been a bit trickier than some of the others because Garrett only supports natively one form of authentication, and so we need to support both LDAP as well as single sign-on, because if someone's coming from the AWIPS network, single sign-on will not work because there's no connectivity between Google and VLab. I'm sorry, Google and AWIPS, so that connectivity is not allowed. So therefore, single sign-on doesn't work. So you have to support both, and the way that Garrett is architected. So anyway, it's a lower priority because we have implemented it for Redmine as well as VLCS, and that's working well. So the work, adding a field to identify communities by line office, we're actively engaged. In fact, I've been testing a change that was checked in for review by one of our developers, and that is importing all of the LDAP users into VLCS. And so there was one little gotcha there that I believe the developer is fixing, and I'll be running the full import. It's 20,800 users within NOAA LDAP that will then be within VLCS, and as part of that, we are including some of the fields that allow, like the line office is populated, as well as some additional fields too that we're using. For example, the organizational unit, which we can then use to determine, at least in eastern region, one of the things that's been a little bit frustrating within the Weather Service is the regions populate values differently for example, what position a person has. So that's kind of related to this, and that is, we're trying to determine whether someone's a SU or a DOE or an ITO, and then we can use that to automatically assign them to a particular role within organizational-based communities. So anyway, that work is moving forward, and I anticipate that assuming the performance testing goes well, which will be starting today as well, we should, I think, have that completed by the end of this month, so that's good. Preview as user from, I don't have any updates on that second issue there. The personal pages, that's, I'm going to go over the roadmap, and I've got that on the roadmap for I believe it's the second release, so we'll have that done by the end of the month as well. And then the community owners, I've got a developer working on that. They've got changes that they're submitting this week. In fact, they're leaving us to go to law school, so unfortunately, but he's checking in those changes, so that'll be there this week as too. The ability for the DDL to upgrade files directly, that we're pushing off to LifeRay DXP. That's the upgrade, and we've got that slated for September of this year. I've submitted all the paperwork for the C request to purchase licenses for that, and I'm waiting there. So LifeRay DXP and the upgrade, that's going to be a fairly big effort, but we've started the process. I've installed it locally and starting to look at it, but the DDL capability to upload directly is there by default.
Can everyone make sure that their phone is muted?
Yes, please. Okay, so the theme, that's coming. We've got that for, there was a push last week by our team to test it. They found some issues. Tao, who is the NSSL developer with an OAR, she's provided some updates for that, and then it's our intention, if I need to go through and categorize each of the issues that were found and make sure that everything's been addressed, but my intention is to get that new theme out to the community owners and make it available for them to switch to the new theme and provide feedback. And assuming that we don't find any showstoppers to that process, we would then roll out the theme and use the new theme throughout the site beginning as early as 2 weeks. So that's early next week. I should be able to roll out that theme to production and make it available to users. So we'll have to be sending out some notifications to the community owners so that they can then go in and select that new theme and provide feedback. So that's there. And the dynamic data list, sorting, filtering, organize. I need to look in DXP to see if those sorts of capabilities are there by default. If they are, we should wait for September rather than dedicating energy now. So that's something I'll have to look at. I've tentatively assigned that to, I think it's a second release in June. We can look at the roadmap in a minute to confirm that. But and then we haven't done anything when we get down to the level 7s, and we haven't done anything with regard to the LifeRay-like notification capability within Redmine. Enhance the project and user-specific notifications. That's similar. And trying to see if there are any. Determine the VLab users for each VIT organization. That I'll have to look at because perhaps we should be able to address that with the changes that we've got in place with the import from LDAP now. So I'll have to look at that issue, 12.156, if I'm able to read that properly. And I think other things that might be of interest that I don't necessarily see on here is that that is one of the things that's been an issue for some time is with the message boards, the ability to for inline images to be used. And so when people are using message boards, which is a very popular feature within VLCS, you have to use attachments, and that works well. We made modifications to support that quite a while ago. But if you actually use inline images, so like have some text, an image, and more text, that's not supported currently. And so we're close to actually having that working. And so I think that'll be a big plus for users of the forums or the message boards. So anyway, that's one of the things that we're currently working on. So are there any questions for me regarding any of these? We could go to the roadmap real quick too and just take a look, and you can get a sense for when things are slated. So you can ignore the expanding VLab. That's another project that we had that we haven't got to, but as I think I indicated, so the first one would be the end of this month. And so, I guess the only thing I didn't touch on is the upgrade to Garrett. That's in support of a couple things. We need that for single sign-on. So there's a lot of work going on there in support of that. Ideas Marketplace, there's that's a small change there that I believe the code is ready for my review. And then the same for the NOAA projects registry. There's a small change there to be able to search. We added the ability, there was a need to have support for test beds, and so that's been added and being able to search for them within that. And then the personal pages, as I mentioned, that's coming. And also, you know, there's a desire to be able to see the community owners. So we've got 2 changes coming in support of that, and those I'm reviewing this week, so we should have that up pretty quickly. One will allow you within the My Communities portlet. That's going to show the project owners there, so you'll be able to see them there. And then when you're in a community, there's a members portlet. It'll also show, so like let's say you're a member of a community, you want to know who's actually the project owner, or I'm sorry, the community owner for this, or yeah, the community owner for this community. It'll show that there too. And then I think Brian maybe had requested a change that's somewhat related with regard to the My Communities portlet, and that is the description now. We've got a change that's been submitted that makes it so that you have to do a hover to get the description, but it makes it much cleaner so you can see many more communities in one page. So, so we've got a slight tweak there to make the hover window wider, but that should be a trivial CSS change, and so that'll be coming too. So anyway, so there's a lot of new functionality and enhancements that are coming within the next week to week and a half. Going to 16.1, those are the themes that I was talking about. There was a requirement for NOAA Projects Registry to support mission requirements. That's at issue 27.155. Will actually be, hopefully, it's slated right now to be enabling the single sign-on in Garrett and have that work. The second one, the look and feel, that'll make it consistent from a look and feel perspective between the different services. And then the actual rollout of the theme that I talked about, so that we would actually make the switch. That's planned. And then on an administrative side, we're right now Garrett doesn't allow us to delete projects, and there's a plugin that's available to do that, so we'll be rolling that out. So, any questions?
All right. All right, moving on with no questions for Ken. Thank you, Ken. Brian, looks like you're up next for candidate issue discussion.
Yes, so I wanted to bring this issue back to the forefront based a little bit on our discussion last time. There are some communities that are either not active or are completely defunct, and I think it's appropriate that once we contact or do the appropriate communication, that if indeed these communities are no longer needed to be open and active, that they should be placed in a separate list and tagged in some way as non-active. And I think what we had talked about last time with Ken was that that could be a possibility to do something like that. We're not saying remove it entirely, but at least maybe put it into like a separate list of non-active communities. So that's the suggestion. It's kind of more of a functional suggestion. It may take some technical work to make it possible, but it'd be open to all to comment on.
As far how, sorry, at what point would we consider it to be non-useful or non-functional?
I think that would be something that would be relative, and we make sure to talk with the owners of the community and take a look and say, take a look at the community and see what type of activity there's been. But there are a few communities that have at least gone 6 months or so without activity, and I think it's appropriate that unless somebody comes back and says this is an active community and shows us why, that 6 months or so of no activity is appropriate to go into a some sort of archive list or something like that.
Okay.
So you
at least that's what I was thinking.
Brian, you envision this as sort of a manual process somehow, that say the VLST would periodically review the existing communities and then make an assessment whether they should be considered inactive?
Yeah, and reach out to the community owners and make sure that they're in agreement. But yeah, the manual, periodic, once in a while thing to scrub the list, and the first scrubbing would be probably something that would identify at least a few communities that are appropriate here.
Would it be sufficient, or would this, one potential solution here would be, that we identify those sort of communities and work with the community owners so that they agree, and then just within the title of the community put, like in a parentheses, inactive. The reason I say that is that if someone's doing a search over the communities, and they get, let's say they've got some idea for a community, you would want them to find even the inactive communities, but then have some sense, oh, this is inactive. So that's something that we could do that would give some sort of indication, because I think you'd still want to find those communities if you're doing a search, but you'd want a clear indication right away that, oh, these are the inactive ones. And then, two, if you did a search for the term inactive, it would quickly find all of those communities.
I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
I like that suggestion. Yeah, I think the suggestion goes. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, is there an archive right now that could accommodate any of the activities of these groups that have not been active for that 6 months or so?
At the moment, when we looked at it before, there is the ability, if I'm remembering correctly, to actually inactivate or deactivate like a community, or I think it's called archive. But in that situation, the community isn't found anymore, I believe, and it's not even viewable. It's just basically put away so that if at some point in the future you want to extract it out and make it active again, you could do so. But so there isn't anything today.
That would mean then, if nothing else were done, that things like articles that were actually deposited in
Any
the area wouldn't be accessible, wouldn't be, things that would come up in searches, and those might be some of the most valuable things to be able to get. I mean, just because the group may not be active now, it doesn't mean that the work that was in there shouldn't be accessible. It should be kind of a national archive type.
Yeah, and that's if we use this other approach of just flagging the community name as inactive. That's not going to prevent anyone from being able to search for the contents within. It wouldn't have any impact there. So.
Yeah. Okay. As long as we could be
Yeah, I know that I saw a request today, actually, in fact, to delete a couple of communities where someone had requested 2 communities and then they ended up not using them. And so those are things that we definitely can do too. So, and that's a case where nothing was ever even added to the community. So it was, there were good intentions, but it just didn't happen. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm fine with Ken's suggestion, and because that helps with the technical aspect. So again, I'll nominate this with the addendum that we put in Ken's suggested way of doing it.
All right, we have the nomination. Do we have any seconds?
Second.
All right, hearing a second. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any nays out there? All right, hearing none.
Cool. The record show that this is now an endorsed issue for the VIT.
John, can you make sure to make that sort of note of Ken's suggestion to go along with it?
Yeah, I will definitely do that.
Okay.
All right, next on the agenda, we've got the topic we've been kind of batting around for a while now. The strategic planning team lead. We've been in search for someone to kind of spearhead this subgroup here, and not had much in the way of luck. So far, we've had John Chattel has volunteered to kind of at least serve for the time being to help move things forward. Does anyone have any thoughts or comments on that?
Is it appropriate to maybe see if there's somebody else in, let's say, my region or in other regions or other line offices? If time is an issue, is it appropriate to see if anybody else is interested, just in general, other staff member?
That was going to be my initial thought yesterday, Brian. Instead of having shooting you guys an email this morning, I walked into issuing tornado warnings. So, but yeah, I was going to pose a similar question.
So I don't mind it from my perspective. I don't know what sort of interest I'll get, but I can ask the cadre of Sues and Does in Eastern Region and anybody else who might have interest in that, and they can let me know if they have some time. So again, I'll just throw it out there to see what other people think about it.
And I can do the same thing in Southern Region as well. All right. Yeah, I'm hearing crickets.
This is true.
But we'll do it. Do we want to draft to fire off something to our respective regions? Do we want to draft a consistent message that we could send to, like you suggested, Brian, the Sues and the Does and all the other interested folk that could potentially interested folk They just don't know they're interested yet. In our respective regions, or thoughts on how do we approach this?
Yeah, I'm fine with that idea. I think we have some sort of wording already. I'm trying to think about that. I don't know if we had some sort of wording or no.
Right. Let me see if I can find that. I think I did a post.
Yeah.
To one of our. So I'll try to see if I can quickly find it and bring it up. So we had team discussions. And I think it was under bid process, perhaps. Let's see. Ah, here we go. This perhaps is it. All right, so here's what we sent out initially for consideration.
Okay, I do remember that now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we just tweak it a little and say the VID is in the process of developing a strategic vision for VLab. We are looking for team members, and we can send this out. And, I'll run it by my boss in Eastern Region, but if others can do the same and send this out. And I think what we're looking for are people who are a little bit more they're more in the research and development arena. So I think that's one of the things that we'd want from a team member. And obviously they'd have a little bit of time to do this. So at least from an NWS perspective, I'm not sure how much we'd want in terms of operational staff who may not have time for that, but that's just my initial thought.
Yeah, I was gonna throw out the idea of, maybe what if we had, a random Sioux just picking on Weather Service folk here, knows of a solid, say, forecaster and lead forecaster that wanted to participate. Would we exclude that?
I'd want to say no, but at the same time, I also want to be sure that they are speaking from a perspective that is looking towards making VLab a strategic thing for NOAA, and I'm not sure if they would have that strategic focus or not.
Okay. I mean, it was just one of those random thoughts that came to my brain, so I tossed it out there. But I'm fine. I mean, want to stick with like the, something like the pseudo regional community right now, at least from the Weather Service perspective. Then we can, expand and see what happens.
Yep.
So, do we could we get like a draft email sent to the VIP members, so that maybe we would get more if it didn't come from, it came more from the regional representatives, because for whatever reason, people don't know, much. They know, they would have a greater chance of knowing us than they would, something, a blast email from, from John or Ken or someone. You think? I mean, I'd be willing to send it to Southern Region, you know, to see what we could get. But I'm worried about the consistency of message. So if we could get a draft email, draft something sent up to the VLab, the VIT representatives, and to be pushed out to the respective regions, that would be awesome. All right. Any other?
You can put the action on me to do that. If
Okay.
John and you want to put that to, I can draft something up and send it around to the group. Just wondering if there's any other thoughts from any of the other line office representatives.
That's what I was about to ask.
As far as are they thinking it's they would be able to send something out to others in their line office, knowing that they have a different structure than we do, if they don't think they have the time.
So are there any other line offices that would plan to do this? Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, I'm wondering if any of the line offices think this is a good idea. Steve, Tammy, or Todd. They've gone silent.
Okay. I guess that would be interpreted as there are no other line offices planning to send out an email.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Todd. I apologize. I was on mute. I think from the NOS perspective, I probably wouldn't be sending out an email. You know what? I guess I can. We're a light user, you know. I can certainly. There is an email group I can hit up though, of IT leadership that's scattered across NOS. NOS is pretty decentralized, so we have like 9 different IT shops.
Right.
But we'll let you guys run with this.
Okay. Oh, that sounds good. And Tammy says she can't be heard. So
I think for Nessus, we probably wouldn't be doing anything, but would we be able to see the one you would send, just as an example of what might be considered?
yeah, we could send that along to the team.
Yeah, that might help really right now. Would want to dive in there.
Okay. And Tammy responded, John, through the chat.
I see her. Yep. She'll send the letter out or the email out as well. That's good. Excellent.
Thank you, Tammy.
And guys, the one thing I want to clarify from the NOS perspective, we're grateful that we have any of this. So we almost feel, everything you do is just, it's gravy for us, right? Anything that goes above and beyond. That's why we're, you don't hear from us asking for much, because we're just happy with everything you have already.
Any other thoughts? All right, hearing none, Brian, if you wouldn't mind drafting that up, send it out to the VIT members, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Sounds good.
All right. All right, I want to toss it back to John, who's got hopefully a status on the VIT representative for Weather Service Headquarters.
Yes. So Steve and I, working with the STI executive officer, sent out a request to the other executive officers for the headquarters organizations, soliciting a volunteer to fill this new position within the VIT. And on Tuesday, the deadline for replies came and went, unfortunately, without any positive response. So the STI executive officer said that it looks like it's pretty much up to STI to try to fill this position. Or at least we're not going to get any volunteers from outside. So Steve Smith is out of town for the next 2 weeks, and so it's going to be probably at least 10 days before we put out any strong feelers. But my recommendation to him was that we try to find some folks that are active within the VLab and approach them directly, vice sending out some sort of broadcast request kind of thing. So if there's anybody in your organization who is kind of really gung-ho about the VLab, and well, actually, of course, this would be within the headquarters, but if you know of anybody in the headquarters who are found to be gung-ho about the VLab, certainly send us their name and we will approach them about taking on this new responsibility. So we've got a couple names that we're considering, but certainly we'd be happy if folks know of anyone else who might be a logical candidate for this position. So that is the current status. We've tried hard so far, and we will continue to try hard, and hopefully by our next meeting we'll have somebody for this new position. Any questions? Okay. Let's see. Do you want me to take the next agenda item?
Go for it.
Okay. So there has been a long-standing issue, I guess. Well, let's put it this way. Back a number of, like maybe 6 months or so ago, maybe perhaps a little longer, the VLab developed the ability to automatically generate tickets through emails. And at the time, there was some thought that we would go ahead and transition our workflow for our suggestion form over to do that, because part of our process involves creating a ticket from the user's input. But at the time, there weren't many suggestions coming in, and so it was delayed. But I finally did get some time and have made that conversion. And so since we have a few minutes left in our meeting, I thought I'd go ahead and just quickly introduce everybody to the workflow and give you some sense of what has changed and how that's been integrated into the way we sort of process these suggestions. So some of you are probably familiar with workflow, others less so. Let me see if I can find my workflow here. Yeah, here we go. So in the effort to sort of demystify what workflow is, I thought I would show you a concrete example, which is our workflow. And this is a visualization here of what the workflow is doing. So you have a beginning, and then down here you have an end. Oh, for some reason it's not showing up very well. And then you've got some selection process going on and some processing. So this is a graphical representation of the workflow. And then you can also see that really what it boils down to is a file containing a lot of XML. And the XML does a number of things. It has scripts in it that actually accomplishes actions. Some actions include sending out emails. And so that's what we're leveraging here when we create these emails automatically. So I just wanted to give you a sense of kind of what it looks like, and so you kind of have this visualization. But that's not what we're going to really focus on. What we're going to focus on is exactly how, let me get rid of that, how the process works. So here's our suggestion form, and I'm going to make that a little smaller since you can see it now. So this is our suggestion form. The first thing the user does when they want to make a suggestion is they come in and they select the organization for which they are a member. So turns out each of these organizations has a representative. And so when the user selects that particular organization, it's setting up the situation where that person who's responsible for that particular organization will receive an email notification. So what we're going to do is we're going to use other, which is what I'm the default for. So I get all the other ones. And then the user just gives you a suggestion like, you know, make font bigger, let's say. Oops. All right, so that's their suggestion, and then they do a send. And since I'm the sort of, we'll call it the approver or the representative for that particular organization, we'll get to see on my email that I got this notification. So in my inbox, Google Mail inbox, I get this notification, and this is what the user will see. So I'm the suggester as well as the approver. But so the person who makes the suggestion gets a nice little thank you and lets them know that we'll be processing their input. And then there's another email that some of us at least have seen in their inbox, and this is the step-by-step instructions on how to process the workflow. So if you don't remember anything from my little talk here, don't worry, because we have an email that'll come to your inbox that'll step you through each of the steps, and you'll be good shape. But one of the other things, in addition to generating an email automatically, is that we now have the information that the user provided in the email. So before, you would just get this nice email telling you that you had this workflow that needed to be processed. Now you have this nice email with the workflow needs to be processed, and it gives you some of the information. For example, it tells you that John Chattel from this organization, which in this case is other, yours would say something else, has submitted a request or suggestion, and then it provides you that suggestion. So it's just a little more user-friendly. So those two emails get sent out when the form gets submitted, and then it also sends out another email to Redmine, and it creates this ticket for us. And so in this case, it said that I, John Chattel, from the other organization, submitted this particular request. And so now we're all set. Some of the work has been done for us, and we can pick up our process that we have in our documentation. So let's take a real quick look at that, and that requires us to go within our, actually I'm not sure if it does, but within our private community part of it. So we have our process. And did I not do it right? Let's try this again. I'm going to try this. Okay. So now I'll go back to the process. Well, that is strange. Not sure what happened. Maybe a operator error on my part at some point. Let me see if I can go directly to it. Okay. All right. I'll have to do this the hard way. Pages. Bear with me 1 second. I think I can find it. All right. So let's see here. Ah, okay, so it's in the wiki. Anyway. Here we go. All right, so now we'll go to our wiki. I think. Or not. Well, I tell you what, I'll have to go fix this, but let me just sort of step through the process. It's not that involved, but we do have sort of a nice description of how to do it. And the idea is that once this ticket winds up in your inbox, and we'll all get to see all the tickets that get created. So regardless of whether the suggestion was from your organization or not, you will see this email, assuming that you have your Redmine configuration set up to receive emails from this particular project, the VIT project. But let's assume that that's the case. You'll receive them, and you'll also get those email notifications that you need to take action. So for the ones that you need to take action, you go in to the ticket itself, which we have an example of. Let's see. Let's see it. You have an example of it, and we'll just assume that this is, well, actually, no, that's not it. Sorry.
You just want to look at the last email that was just generated, or the
Yeah,
issues just generated?
I go down to the community, and it should be in here somewhere, right?
It'd be under activity or issues. It should be right there.
Yeah, there we go. So we have this example, and the idea is we're going to review it to make an assessment on whether or not we need to go back to the user for additional information, or whether or not it's complete enough to begin the process of evaluation. So we can, let's assume that it looks good as is. We go to the edit process. If we want to basically say that we have reviewed it and it's been QC'd, whoops. Let's see, okay. So yeah, we got to change the tracker to the VIT, which I think I may be able to fix that at some point. But for now, the you need to change the tracker to VLab Improvement Team, and then you can basically indicate that it's been quality controlled, and basically kind of leave it around for a bit while you mull it over. And then at some point, once you've decided that it's something that merits consideration by the rest of the team, then you can come in and action it to a nominated candidate. The other thing you'll want to change when you first get it set up is that you'll assign it to yourself. So if it's, say, for Eastern region, then Brian would come in and assign it to himself. And then you can make an assessment on to which of the categories this one belongs to. So perhaps they're asking for some new functionality. And then you can add any comments. You know, perhaps you talk to the individual and, you know, got some additional information. You can add that in here. And then you can click submit. And so now it's been readied, and then next time I create an agenda item, I'll see that that particular candidate is ready for consideration. I'll add it to the agenda, and away we go with the process. So what's changed since we added this new email capability is that now some of the work has been done for you. The sort of the skeleton of the VIT ticket is ready, and all you need to do is go in and edit it to get it ready for whatever step it needs to take along the process for eventual implementation. So, any questions? All right, great.
Thank you for that that Superman level overview there, John.
Sure.
Let's see. I'll just let you continue with open action items and kind of head toward the final stretch here.
All right, no problem. So let's see, open action items. We'll start at the top here. There we go. And I'm scrolling down. Let's see, we have one that we touched on earlier involving the list of users by VIT organizations. And I suspect we're getting very close to having something that we could provide VIT members so they'll know who's in the VLab and also in the organization. And let's see, so let's see, ongoing. And let's see, we have a couple here. We're still looking to officially draft our charter for the strategic planning team. Probably that would be basically once we have a leader for the team, that would be one of the first things I think they would undertake. We have one for Tammy that I think she is still working on involving visiting with Eric Rasmussen, seeing if there's any tickets that can be gleaned from a presentation he gave. And let me see, I can check real quick to see if Tammy has any input. If so, Tammy, just type something into the chat box and I'll relay it on. Then moving down, we have another open item back from January. This was the idea that we were going to incorporate in our strategic planning team charter some concept of incorporating policy topics, perhaps. So that was there for the team to consider. And I think Brian, with today's meeting, has pushed forward 2680-824 for us to take a look at. So I think we'll be able to close that action item. And then one final one, let's see, it says here, email Steve Smith and ask for his thoughts on how to best fill the headquarters vacancy. Okay, so that can probably be updated. That has taken place, and the process has begun, though has not yet been wrapped up. And I believe that concludes our review of open action items.
All right, thanks, John. Anyone have any other thoughts or comments that wasn't on the agenda, part of their open forum? All right. I'm not hearing any. As far as new action items?
Let's see. So we need to, or I will update issue 26824 to add that one of the potential solutions will be appending to the name of a project the indication, the word inactive, if in fact it's been deemed to be inactive, as a potential solution to that ticket. I will then update 26824 to indicate that it's been endorsed by the VIT and ensure that it has a reflection in the VLST ticket system. And then finally, there's an action item for Brian to draft and circulate for comment a email inviting participant, or inviting, I guess, a volunteer to lead our strategic planning team. Any comments or additions? Okay.
All righty. And with that, I've got 12:56 on my my phone here. Looks like our next meeting will be June 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern for 1800 Zulu. With that, thanks everyone for coming in and participating. Chat with you later.
All right. Have a good day.